Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and a link in the info box once the video has rendered. If you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. There are a couple of rules in the Hangout. Number one, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected by me, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please share the show, as sharing the show increases the chances of a more diverse panel. And one last time, if you are new to the channel or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Ali. How you doing, Ali? Good to have you here.
Hi Nathan, how you doing?
Not too bad at all. Lovely day.
What number are we up to now, mate?
I can't even remember. 139.
It's been a long journey, eh? You know, and I will actually let me have a chat. I want to say something anyway.
Yeah, go ahead.
About these people that are, can I say bitching or moaning? Shall we say moaning about how long this is taking? But I don't think they're seeing the bigger picture. I mean, the fact is that all these observations, it's getting honed down to a final product where people will be actually be able to use it as an evidence or a part of an evidence that, you know, the water is flat. You know, this is you know, I believe that people are not actually seeing it as there is. I'm getting emails off of people or messages off of people saying, "Oh, this is going on for too long and it's boring." I'm 100% behind what you've done, and you've kept this going, which I'm glad, because we would have never progressed so far if you hadn't. You, Anthony, Shane or Ranty, and oh, I forgot Chris. Chris. If Chris hadn't kept going at this, and it's got better and better. You know that. I mean, it's like it's been refined down, and hopefully we'll get a model at the end of it about that area that we're looking across from the Isle of Man thing. So I think people should be a wee bit more patient, look at the bigger picture, that what's happening here, what these observations are showing and stuff like that. I mean, all these arguments about, oh, he was at this height, that height, this height, and oh, it was the weather, it was refraction and all this. It doesn't matter. The point is we're still seeing things 31 miles away that we shouldn't be seeing on the ball earth model, no matter what anybody says or anybody argues or whatever. People, yeah, as I say, I think flat earthers should give a wee bit more support to what actually happening here, instead of going on about, you know, we've got actual experiments that are going on, not just one experiment, but, you know, you're repeating it. You've been down a few times, even ball earthers. I've went down there, and their information is sorely lacking, whereas they were demanding, oh, we want this height and that height, and then they just went down there with a stick, didn't use it, or used some of it, tried to explain this. I mean, if you look at that Alke's video, go and have a look at it and listen to what he said. Oh, this is about this height, but we'll ignore that. We'll do this. It was nothing. It was disgusting. And if a flat earther had presented that video, it would have got ripped to pieces. Absolutely ripped to pieces. They put different standards of evidence that they require to convince them. They're quite happy with our mainstream, low-level experimentation. Whereas we can see that Anthony and Shane and Chris and yourself as well, you know, kudos that you've kept this going. You know, as I say, you know, it's important to keep this and to finally nail it down, get the model done. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But the point is it has been done. It has been tested. It's been put through the ringer. It's, as you said, it has been peer reviewed. Although I don't see these people in the real sense as our peers. Intellectually, I don't think they're our peers, because they're rather low level. They're book smart, shall we say. I don't think they're able to, as Isa Mahalski said, they're not able to hold two concepts in their head at the same time, kind of thing. So, but that was basically it. I just, people should be getting behind this rather than sitting and bitching about the fact, oh, it's been on for months now. Yeah, well, that's what an experiment. When they do experiments, when scientists do experiments, they don't just do it once and then release their papers a week later. That's a load of crap. You know what I mean? That's not how science is done. It takes time. It takes a lot of work. So, but that's basically all I wanted to say, really. Just to come out and support you and you, Ranty. You're doing, as I say, you're out in the field, or Ranty and Anthony are out there in the field. They're doing what is required. So I think people should support them. Take away their personalities out of it. It's the fact, the information that's coming. Information doesn't have a personality attached to it. It's information. That's all it is. People should drop what they think personal opinions of people and just take the information and look at it and then decide. With your reason. Use reason instead of your emotion, because your emotions just cloud your judgment. So, but that was it. There we go. Finished.
Yeah, that's the most part of what the Isle of Man evidence was attacked on. It wasn't attacked on, a lot of people didn't really understand the issues the globe was having with it, and a lot of them still don't. I saw Imric released a video recently and basically demonstrated that he didn't understand the problem. And there's been a few people that have been like that along the road, and I think a lot of them now do understand the problem, where I was getting frustrated with them, maybe a little cross with them in some instances, Cat Earth being a perfect example of that, which is to say that you didn't understand the problem. When people are asking you why the beach isn't there, it means they fundamentally don't understand that the lighthouse is missing on their model. It's not there, it's physically beyond your view. There's a great big hill in the way, and it's on the other side of it, 600 feet below your feet. Well, until you can actually grasp that concept, it's difficult to explain to somebody that we see something that isn't there because they can see a photograph with it there. And then when they go to Google Earth, it's there as well. You drop into the plane view on Google Earth when you drop low enough, and it's basically the same as a flat map. It's a flat plane view of our world at a certain altitude, 1,000 feet or something in Google Earth. So that's kind of what people are expecting to see, because that's what they do see. But when you explain to them that, well, the mathematics dictates what you can and can't see on your sphere, and you cannot see this lighthouse, it's long, long, long gone, and you probably have to be 400 or 500 feet higher up to actually see it, to physically have it be there on your model, you'd need to be considerably higher. So the straw man argument of the altitude that Anthony's at, waste of time, pointless, meaningless, and demonstrates a lot of the audience's lack of understanding when it comes to the breakdown of the globe model in this regard. And it has completely obliterated the globe model. None of this observation is explainable on a globe, and that's what's been demonstrated so far. But they're 10 a penny. Globe debunks, there's loads of them. Loads of people are out there debunking the globe and doing an exceptionally good job of it. But what we haven't got, to my knowledge, to date, is a working flat Earth model to say this is how it does work, without the necessity for any apologies, without the necessity to use refraction where there's something not accounted for. Instead of that, it's just an explanation. Here's where the refraction is. This is what it does to the image. You can see it consistently along the entire image, regardless of how far away the object is. In other words, there's no explanation in terms of how it wouldn't work on a globe. When Chris will present it, there'll probably be very limited explanations in terms of how it doesn't work on a sphere, because it's not a spherical model, it's a flat plane model, and we'll just show some of the aspects of our reality. And some of it people might look at it and go, this is actually boring. And, sometimes the truth isn't that exciting. But for me, it's the most exciting thing I've ever done in, 2 or 3 years of being in Flat Earth. Because to date, no one can say, yeah, we've got a model. Well, now we can. This will have the title Flat Earth Model. And you said it quite nicely. There's no personalities required when you've just got the truth. It doesn't actually need any explanation. Chris, once he's presented it and said this is what it does and how it works, and here's the scale, here's what we can see, here's how you can use it as a tool. Once he's done all those things, he'll zip up the model and just say, there you go. Hello, Bucklar. How are you doing? Can you hear us?
Hello.
Hello, Bucklar. What can we do?
Hello.
What can we do you for?
How you do today?
Say again?
How you do today?
I'm very well, Bucklar. You seem to be using someone else's voice, though. Ownage pranks.
Yeah, just to support what you said there, Nathan. It's like this is, I mean, a lot of, as I say, this is like one of the. This is about the furthest we've come. It's all been speculation, but as I say, now we've got or there's a model coming. There's the observations been taken. Yous have kept at it doggedly, which is what it's all about. Is not to give up and stuff like that. And then they start using our. Oops.
Hello.
Hi, Dawn.
Oh, you banned my main account. I mean, you unbanned it. Thank you very much.
You only get banned for the show that you get booted from.
I haven't been able to get in and hang with this normal one for a while.
Yeah, because I keep booting you. Because the chances are you're joining when there's people talking, so I don't get a chance to say hello. Whereas this time you've joined, I get to say hello.
It says you cannot join the call for like the last couple of weeks, but it's okay. I can now.
Yeah, if you get booted, it should say you can't join the call, but it shouldn't make any difference to the next show. You should still be able to join the next show because no one gets perma banned ever.
Oh, well, for some reason.
Can I just say something? There's a thing, right? See if, for example, if I had Dawn Trader blocked, right? If I had Dawn Trader blocked, not here, but I'm saying I don't communicate with him. If I come on this show, if I come on this show, I think it actually will block Dawn Trader for coming in.
Yeah, so if someone's on the panel that's got you blocked, so if you've annoyed somebody and they've blocked you and they're already on the panel, that's probably why it says you can't join. That's what
that's probably
said.
Riley, to be honest. But
yeah,
I'm back.
Sorry.
Thanks. I've only just got up, having coffee, but I thought we could talk about the model.
It's not been presented yet, but I don't mind talking about it if you want me to talk about it.
Is it a full flat Earth model that includes everything, or just the ground stuff?
How do you mean the full flat Earth model? Do you mean does it incorporate the stars?
Yes.
No, this is a flat Earth model of the Isle of Man. So the observation we've been looking at for months is what we'll be presenting as a flat Earth model. So to date, what you've seen is debunked globe models in various forms.
It's not really a flat Earth model. It's just a model of Isle of Man on a flat Earth.
That's what a flat Earth. That is what a flat Earth model is. That's what a flat Earth model is.
But it's just a localized flat Earth model that doesn't include anything else.
No, there's only an image of the Isle of Man, so it can't really incorporate anything else. It's representing reality, and the reality we have is an image of the Isle of Man.
Do you think you should call it an Isle of Man flat Earth model?
You could call it that if you wanted to, yeah.
Well, I'm asking you, do you think you should rename it? Because flat Earth model needs a lot more than just Isle of Man, doesn't it?
You can call it whatever you want. It is a model of a flat Earth. That's how it works. It's modelled on a flat plane.
When does your availability lie for the next week?
Sorry?
I don't know, it's just some troll with a
See that again, Bob?
So far, no laughs, though, from Bucklar.
I don't know, I never heard what you said, though.
What?
Never heard what you said.
He's using like a it's just got a load of samples.
What can you do here to fix the problem?
You could call it the Isle of Man flat Earth model.
We can call it whatever we like, but the point is it's a flat Earth model.
Oh.
Flat Earth model of Isle of Man.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
How you doing, Bruising Baller? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Quick question. Is Monk a welder or a surveyor? Simple answer. Welder or surveyor? Go.
No, he's not here. Why don't you ask him when he's here?
Oh, so you're going to obfuscate. Nice one. So we know he's a welder. You lying little toad.
When he's here, Nathan.
He's not here.
Oh, so it's just come on to attack personalities, have you? Is that what you've just done?
When you don't let anybody else on, do you? No,
Yeah, you sound like excited. How you doing today?
It's hard to question Monk because there's no hangout link when Monk comes on.
Yeah, I tried to talk to you right now. I can't hear you.
Now, how did you answer him?
I don't get it.
How did you answer me?
It is not.
All right, this thing about the calling it a flat Earth model. Well, do you know it's like? It can be named anything it likes.
Not really. It should be named of what it is.
No. It can be, no. Don't see. The thing is, who are you to demand how something gets called?
I'm not demanding it. I'm just saying it would be.
No, you're saying it should.
The wrong name.
It shouldn't. You wouldn't. Oh, well, you should be called Don Skimmer then.
We don't say the globe model and then just show you a picture of England, do we? The globe model encompasses everything.
Yeah, but so what?
So you can't call something a flat Earth model if it's just
listen.
Model of man.
As a, we can call anything we like to. I can call anything. I can call anything I like.
Isn't it?
Can I not? This is what I don't get. Who are you lot to demand that we have to do this and we have to call it this? But that's what you're doing, Don.
I'm not demanding. I'm just saying it's disingenuous.
You're running about as if you've got sole rights to police the YouTube. You're deciding who should say what. You're just replicating what's happening on the outside world.
You know what a model is? A model encompasses the whole thing.
No, it doesn't. No, it's a model. A model's a model.
A model of Isle of Man, not
on a flat Earth. On a flat Earth.
It's a flat Earth model.
Okay, if you call it a model of Isle of Man on a flat Earth, I'm cool with that.
Anybody can call it. That's just semantics. Anybody can call it whatever they like.
Yeah, but
if they want it, if the people that did all the work on it, like yous have done nothing, right? Wait a minute. These people, if they have done all the work on it, they can call it what the hell they like.
Yeah, but it would be disingenuous to call it a flat Earth model.
It is a flat Earth model. It is a flat Earth model, Dawn. Do you understand that?
It doesn't include any of the things that disprove flat Earth. Like
what are you talking about? So you're saying you don't like it because you can't debunk it using the stars? That's your objection? Buckler, I'm going to kick you if you keep interrupting with your samples. Please don't. You're not funny. No one's laughing.
The stars don't prove a flat Earth. The moon doesn't, and the sun doesn't. It doesn't prove a ball Earth or a flat Earth. None of it. That car up in space doesn't prove the existence of satellites and ISS and moon landings. It doesn't prove the Earth is flat. It doesn't prove the shape of it. Does it? Or if it does, how does it?
Well, we saw globe Earth on it, didn't we? We didn't see a flat Earth.
From where?
From the space car.
How did you see it? How was it represented to you, Dawn? Was it represented as a three-dimensional representation, or was it on a two-dimensional screen that you saw it?
It looked pretty 3D to me.
Sorry, just to ask the question a second time. Did you see it as a 3D representation, or did you see it on a two-dimensional screen?
It was on my monitor, obviously, but it was a 3D image.
No, it wasn't a 3D image. It was a 2D image. That's what a screen is.
Yo.
Okay, representing a 3D.
Hey, Sleeping Warrior, how you doing?
Hey, Anthony.
Just getting my hello in quick so I don't get kicked.
No one's kicking anybody. So far, we've all been very cordial.
I've not had a chance to listen to anything up to this point, so I'm green to what's happened in today's hangout. But when there's a lull in proceedings, I want the mic because I just want to address something that Miles has done. Two things: one, an email that he sent me overnight that I want to respond to publicly, and something he said yesterday that I just want to draw people's attention to in chat. So carry on as you were with whatever topic you were talking about, and then when we get a chance, just give me a shout back and I'll...
Just to round this out then, Dawn. Sorry, you go first.
Would you agree that Monk's model is also just a 2D image?
It's represented on a two-dimensional screen, but it's a 3D Blender model, so you can work your way through it.
That's the same as what I saw.
No. So in the same way as you can work your way through a 3D representation on a game, you can't do that with what they present you from SpaceX, whereas you can do that with Chris's model. So you can literally go into it like a first-person shooter and play it as a three-dimensional model. So it is very much a three-dimensional model, unlike SpaceX's representation on the screen. So just to round this out then, Dawn. So if it was called Fred, so the title of the model was Fred, would it, in your mind, in any way change what was represented once you opened up the Blender file called Fred?
No,
Yes.
but I find it silly how you named it.
Okay, but would it in any way change the details of what was contained within that model?
No.
That's it.
Because when you were talking about Mong's model, I thought you were talking about, you know, the spheres around the AE map thing. Not the Isle of Man model.
So that's
That
called
sounds
the
like you're about to perform,
WGS84. Just do you know what the WGS84 is?
GWS84.
Yes.
Is that the spheres around the AE map?
That's what it was presented as when modelled in Blender, but do you know what it's used for?
Okay.
Being honest,
Okay.
no, I don't.
Sorry, Dawn, Bucklar interrupted you.
I don't know what it is. Do you know what it is, Nathan?
Yes, it's a geodetic referencing system.
Tell them what it's based on, Nath.
Based on a hypothetical geoid. Do you know what a hypothetical geoid is, Dawn Treader?
That's it. I finish.
Do you know what a hypothetical geoid is?
Oh, I can imagine what it is, yeah.
Oh, okay. I see.
How is that used? Why does it exist?
It is not.
How is it used? Because
How is it used by people?
it's used to find a particular location to start surveying from. So in order to get certification, once you've surveyed something and built something, you have to have tied it to a geodetic referencing point using one of those systems, not always the WGS84, but a geodetic referencing system, which is whatever system is used locally. And there'll be a reference point.
National datum it is. It's a national datum. They've got a datum. Every country's got their own datum above the height above the mean sea level. So that's what it's run off. So there's fixed points all over the countries, and then they triangulate off that actual that point. Just a datum.
But the detail that's quite critical, Dawn Treader, is that we are led to believe that that's proof of us being on a sphere or being on a globe. However, when it's actually used as a tool, what they do is they find their starting point using that system. But in order to do that, they have to flatten the hypothetical geoid onto any map you like. You can use, they're all representing the same thing in different ways. But you could represent it on a map and then find your position. And that position is basically a stake in the ground. From there, they use surveying equipment like a planar surveyor would use. So they level their transit, which is to say, you've probably seen surveyors out on the road. They have a yellow tripod with like a lantern-looking thing on the top. Well, as they spin that, if you imagine that to be like a camera that you can look through, and what they are essentially doing is...
Right now, I can hear you.
So why are you flattening it from a hypothetical geoid, like a sphere? If it's flat,
Why are we what, sorry?
why do you need to flatten the hypothetical geoid?
Because the world it represents is flat.
So shouldn't it need no flattening?
If it was a globe, no, it would require zero flattening if we lived on a globe. That's the point. But in order to use it as an accurate tool, they have to flatten it to match the reference that they actually see. And the reference that they actually see is a flat plane. So you can't tie points on a sphere to a flat plane because it isn't a sphere. So in order to do so, they take the hypothetical geoid and flatten it completely.
Yeah, maybe I'm out of my depth.
No, you're asking exceptionally good questions, actually, Dawn Treader.
Okay.
So why do they have to flatten it? Because the world we live in is flat. That's why. It's as simple as that. But beyond them getting their single stake in the ground from that referencing system, that datum, when they've actually got that single point, they reference the ground that they see. And the ground that they see is flat. They have to level their transit, which means that they are leveling it on the horizontal plane. And everything that they see as they spin that lantern-looking thing is flat. It's level in every direction. You could spin that round and round and round and round, and it would never deviate from horizontal. That is to say that what they see in that lens is a flat plane.
Why would they ever create a geoid reference system, though?
To hide sea level.
If the Earth was flat, couldn't you just survey it yourself?
Yeah, if it was easy to reference the fact that sea level is the same everywhere, then you'd pretty much figure it out immediately. But you have to hide that and conceal that. That's why we have discrepancies between the different referencing systems, and indeed between the referencing systems that they use to produce maps and Google Earth. There are huge discrepancies between all of them.
Where are they hiding sea level from?
Us.
From you?
Yeah, you as well.
Right. So Earth is flat, in your opinion, but it's been represented as a hypothetical geoid, and now you're flattening it again to get the flat Earth back.
No, that's what the surveyors do to find their point on Earth.
Seems a little convoluted.
Very.
All right, I'll check. Sorry, Nathan. I was going to just chip in there. The thing is, when satellites are surveying the ground, they survey it as a flat plane, and then put it onto a spheroid, project it onto a spheroid, right? So they actually measure, satellite measures it flat. It'll measure undulations in height, but it doesn't measure as a sphere. And then after they've gathered that information, they transpose that onto either the ellipsoid. It depends what they're looking at. If they're looking at the sea level, it depends what they're measuring. They've got three different. They've got the ellipsoid, they've got the sphere, and they've got the what do you call it, the geoid, right? But all the information comes in flat, right? And then they project it onto a spheroid. So when people say, "Oh, it's a sphere," and then they flatten it out, no, it's the opposite way, right? They take the information and they transpose it onto a spheroid, and you can do. I mean, it's like five minutes research for them to find that information out. If anybody wants to bother doing it,
Arwen,
I've got papers on it anyway. I'm going to do a hangout on it anyway. I've got papers. I'm going to do it so that people can understand.
It's real. He's real.
Yes, I'm real.
Sorry, it's just Dingy was chatting away.
Okay, he said hello. I did hear him.
Nath, if I drop off this call, can I rejoin with Skype? Because I want to pass my sound through.
Yeah, sure.
I'll be straight back.
Hey, Arwen, how you doing?
Yeah, doing all right. Just came back from church.
Yeah, I like to re-talk again on optics. I mean, they'll get it eventually. You keep going at it.
Oh,
they'll understand
they'll
a bit.
never get it. They don't want to get it. Keep flipping it all around.
Yeah, they're just, what they do is they say, oh, we need to know this and we need to know that. And then when we do produce their own science, their own mathematics, they totally deny it.
No, but what they actually mean to say is they need to know it in their way. They need to know how it works in their belief system. They need to fit it. That's what they're actually saying.
You keep saying they, but
you.
It's basically everyone on Earth apart from you guys.
No, just you.
You
Globers that you hunt us with your beliefs.
Well, that's the same on your side against us, isn't
it? No. No, it's not. I can have, do you know what? I can go out into the real world, right, and have conversations about optics and maybe technology and stuff like that. And the people are not straight away arguing against me, saying, "Oh, that's wrong, that's wrong." They're going, "Oh, interesting. No, I need to look at that. Oh, blah blah." They're not going because they're not coming with that prejudgment that all ball earthers. So any information,
I can start conversations about flat Earth with random people, and
what
they'll
saying,
just hear me out, and they'll not really have an opinion on it. They won't immediately like get all offended, like how dare you?
Yeah, well,
Like you people that just keep coming back.
It took me a year to get to this point.
Yeah, well, you're still here. You're still in chat. You keep coming back.
Like you.
That's good. That's good, Arwin.
Like the plague. Like
Wouldn't you say that's
a
a good thing?
cold.
Yeah.
It just won't go away.
We kind of see you as the same.
No, but we are here. We're not going to you. You're the ones that come to us.
But you're the one with the alternative reality claim.
Yeah, but you are the ones coming to us. We're not coming to you. We don't want you. Well, maybe Nathan does kind of want you because you're actually making his show
Why do you think
for
blokes
him.
can't come to you?
But we don't want you.
That's not true for me.
We don't
I mean,
need you.
can I
We
just
don't
qualify that,
need you
Arwin?
to
Because that's
get in our
so
way.
far from my views. I couldn't disagree with you more. I mean, people are people, and Dawn's just a Joe, just an average Joe guy, no different to anybody else, and he's not convinced. So he's absolutely the person I want here.
Okay. Oh, that's why I said maybe for you.
So I don't make
I'm
stuff
not
up.
looking to be haunted by Globers all the time. And regular people, you can just talk to them about this stuff, and they'll be neutral. They'll be very nice about it.
Yeah, that's
Maybe
just
initially.
politeness of common
Yeah,
humans.
it's common decency. It's something you guys
If you what you were
don't
like,
seem to have.
you wouldn't be that polite.
Just keep trolling.
That's
If you told them about
pre-programmed.
your hologram son sinking into the water.
Keep
I don't
making
think-
the
I don't
sock
think-
puppets, making fun
They
of
might not be
people's
so
names.
polite
And,
with you.
We're conditioned to fight this, Arwin. Wouldn't you agree? We often talk about this in Flat Earth, how people are conditioned to believe the lie and defend it. So to see people have that, quote, natural reaction seems perfectly reasonable. No, it's not nice. It's vitriolic, but that is how people enter this arena.
well, that's the first response, and that is normal. But this is not a first response anymore.
No.
These Glober people are in here for a year on end, and they keep on doing the same thing. Normal people don't do that.
Why do you
Normal
think?
people let it go.
Yeah, I'm
You're
not.
not normal.
I'm not normal.
Obsessed lunatics.
I see danger in flat Earth because it's so
Yeah,
alternative.
they're so dangerous. My
So
God.
alternative. It
Let's
doesn't
hear it.
Regular people just hear the theory and then just let it go because they're actually occupying themselves with regular day life things.
If you show me the edge.
You're
of-
the one that are
I'll be on your
obsessed.
side.
You're the ones that are actually a danger to yourselves.
You show me the edge, I'll be on your side.
There is no edge, and stop asking.
Just before we go off that
No,
subject, Dawn, sorry, you raised an interesting point. You said you see it as dangerous. I'd love to know why.
Because it's so alternative to reality, and most of it doesn't fit observations of reality.
Well, hang on a sec. Hang on.
I mean, like-
So
Yesterday's show.
alternative to reality, like
Arwin, please let me
in
finish.
comparison to all the other crazy ideas out there, that those are not alternative to reality enough. No, flat
Well, let-
Earth is the one that is the most dangerous alternative to reality.
Let him
So
finish
that's
what-
why you come to haunt us,
It makes-
specifically us.
It makes people question everything they've ever seen in their lives.
Yes,
Yeah,
Dawn,
like, unlike all those other theories that are completely weird and
What other-
strange and
what other
aliens
theories?
everywhere. That's not weird. That's not
What globe
strange
theory?
at all. That's not
Everything
alternative
is
to reality at all.
Oh,
That's
it-
perfectly fine. People can think anything they like, but not flat Earth. That is dangerous, right?
Right.
Right?
You demand, Don Trader, you demand to see the edge where we demand to see a spinning ball.
Yeah, but
See-
spinning ball is impossible, isn't it, unless you go to space. Whereas you could get the edge now in a balloon or a plane. Or
But you said they've been in space. What about all these pictures of the spinning ball that's in space then?
yeah, they're cool.
Is that real?
You have no pictures of flat Earth, do you? So we won that one.
So you're saying you'd rather have fake pictures than
You won.
no pictures?
It's a competition.
And they're better than no pictures.
But Don, you're regarding this as a competition.
We got
It's not a
pictures.
competition, mate. It's just a discussion of ideas. People
Yeah,
discussing
I'm not saying
ideas.
it's a competition.
Hi, Lottie. How you doing?
If we'd had,
Hold on. Can you say a quick hello, Lottie?
Hi Nathan, hi
Good to have you.
everybody.
Hello. Good to have you.
Shout out.
right, if we had your attitude, if we had the attitude of ball earthers, civilization or humanity would have never progressed, because it would have been yous are naysayers. Yous are not willing to look into different ideas and stuff like that without a prejudice. So it would be actually you lot, or the people that are trolling or whatever yous are doing. It's you that are actually holding up progress.
Trust me, mate. I looked into it with an open mind, and it didn't work with any observations that I see in reality of 35 years of living.
You're right. It didn't work. Your open mind didn't work.
What about the Isle of
I had
Man?
an open mind. I looked at it with an open mind.
Thought you had, but it didn't work. It didn't open up.
So what's
You
your
keep
view
on doing the same thing over and over again.
Sorry, Arno, just to ask a quick question, because we're all kind of ganging up on him. It's a bit unreasonable. He's a bit kind of on his own, apart from Lottie.
Could Earth be flat? I checked all the evidence, and there was none.
So what about the Isle of Man? Now there is some evidence.
The Isle of Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a 2-month debate about refraction, where you say we can't claim refraction, but you can. In fact, you renamed refraction as dirty air.
No, that's not true. What we are saying is that the model dictates where things are. Your sphere says the lighthouse isn't there. It's long gone. You can't see it. That's what we say. What we do also say is that you can see it if the Earth is flat, as demonstrated. So what's that? Well, how is that not evidence? It completely obliterates the globe. Your model says the lighthouse isn't there. So it's absolutely obliterating the globe in that respect.
You think one lighthouse
just let me
observation
finish. Bear with me a second, because
globe?
you started off by saying it's been a 3-month debate about refraction. Well, yes, because you guys need to explain why it's not there on your model, and your
The
use
explanation
is
is
refraction. Yeah,
That's
you
the
use
end.
refraction to explain why something that should not be there is there. So essentially, Isle of Man is on, or the lighthouse at the very least, is on the other side of a hill. You know, if your mate's house is on the other side of a hill and you're walking up that hill, you can't see his house on the horizon at the top of the hill. You don't get to see his house. It never gets projected up to the top of the hill. That's an impossibility in our world. There are no examples of your mate's house being projected up above a 170-foot hill that stands in your way, especially when that 170-foot hill is compounded by the fact that your mate's house is 600 feet below your feet. That's what the situation is. That's your model. And your model needs a band-aid to rectify that problem. That band-aid is refraction. Our model doesn't use
The
refraction
lighthouse
as
isn't
a
on the other side
band-aid.
of the hill. It's on this side of the hill, but we just see it because of refraction. And you can't understand that, or you just think refraction is woo-woo?
It seems like you don't understand it. Hold on, let me just explain to Dawn. I don't want to condescend to you because there's a lot of people in your situation, and I'm starting to feel a bit more empathy towards you because it seems that you don't understand the problem. In your mind, you can see the lighthouse. Is that correct? It's fine to be able to see that lighthouse. Is that what you understand?
Yeah, well, I've been told that the lighthouse is on this side of the hill, and
Who's told you that?
Because of refraction.
That's fine. Who's told you that?
Quite a few people.
Name one.
I don't want to give names, do I?
Okay, that's fine. No. Oh, no problem. No problem. You've been told that the lighthouse is visible because it's on this side of the hill, right? It isn't. That's a mathematical certainty. It's a geometric fact. I assure you, I would be tore a new asshole if I was asserting this and I was incorrect. It is a fact, a geometric fact, that the lighthouse is on the other side of a hill and over 600 feet below your feet. There is a literal... Bear with me, Dawn. I really want you to understand this because I don't want to treat you like cat, you know, and to start basically bullying you because you don't get it. I don't want that to be the case. I want you to understand this. Geometrically, the lighthouse is on the other side of a hill. Literally, there's a massive hill in the way of it. You can't see it. It isn't there. There's a hill in the way. That's a fact.
The horizon? You mean the horizon, a hill of water?
No, your globe is curved. That curve is the same as a hill. A hill is curved. If you're at the bottom of it, it curves up.
You call the horizon and the water a hill?
Yes, that's what... No, let me just clarify that, Dawn, please. No, I'm not saying that. Your model dictates that.
Well, the definition of hill doesn't include the hump of water, does it? The horizon.
If the hill was covered in water in your model, yes, you have gravity that holds water to the curve. So
That's
yes,
not a hill.
it is a hill, Dawn. Why are you fighting me on this?
It's called the Sagitta.
Do you want
It's
me
called
to
the
look up the definition of hill?
One second, right? I'll explain it maybe a wee bit better. Right, if that object's below us, right, it's we're seeing it down at an angle, and in front of that, we would have to look through the water, right? Nathan's explaining about. We'd actually have to look through the hill, not the horizon. We'd have to look lower than the horizon to actually see that, because that's where that lies. If the Earth was a globe, right, and we had that big the curve there, right, we would have to physically look through the water to see that, not at the horizon. We'd actually look through. So there's a line that you draw from your foot to the object, and there's a curve in between there, and it's the high point of the curve. It's called the Sagitta, and that's what you'd have to be looking through, not the horizon. If you looked at the horizon, you won't see it.
I don't want to argue on semantics again, but shall I look up the definition of hill?
Have a look up the definition of what did I say there?
Sagitta.
Sagitta, that's it. That's the one, thank you. Look up the definition of that and look at a picture of it, and you'll see what I mean. Forget the hill.
I don't think that's
Forget the hill. Sagitta.
No, you don't have to accept the hill example, but that's literally what is happening. There is a literal hill in the way.
Have you changed the wall of water into a hill?
Yeah,
is that what you?
It is a hill. It's a curve. I use the word hill because people can visually understand that a hill is a curved thing that curves up and then curves down. And if someone else's house is on the other side of that hill, the hill blocks your view. Well,
it's almost like you're saying it's on the other side of Isle of Man, on the other side of the cliff hill. When you say hill, that's kind of disingenuous, isn't it?
It's not. It's absolutely accurate. It's absolutely accurate, Dawn. You just don't get it.
Water or the horizon.
No, it's a hill in the way. That's what it is. You don't have to accept it, Dawn, but every time you fight it, it demonstrates that your comprehension levels aren't sufficient to comprehend your own model. Your own model dictates that there is a hill in the way, and Isle of Man is on the other side of that hill. There is a physical wall in your way of seeing it. Therefore, the lighthouse is not there.
Nathan, can I read to you a request from chat I'd like you to address? I won't put the name to it, but the point that is being made is quite interesting. Nathan apparently doesn't understand what a hill is. The word hill implies that there are points on its surface where the potential energy is higher than on other points. That's not the case with the curve of the planet. Would you care to address that, Nathan? Do you understand what a hill is, you moron?
Yes, I understand what a hill is, and that's literally what the globe model dictates. Hold on, how are you doing, Jazaconda? Good to have you. Say hello.
G'day. Just call stuff what they are, Nathan, instead of changing your words all the time.
I'm not changing my words. There is a literal hill in
the
way.
But you were saying a literal wall of water, and now you've changed it to a hill.
Yes, the same thing. They are exactly the same thing. The fact that it's not a brick wall, horizontal, means that it's more akin to a hill than a wall. But they do the same thing. If a wall is in front of you, you can't see through it, correct?
Yeah, I just don't like you calling it a hill or a wall.
Yeah, people don't like me calling the effect of this. Once they comprehend this, there are certain people out there like Nick and Paul Voigt and Rumpus who do get it. They understand it implicitly. They get the concept that the lighthouse isn't there. That is why they are using non-standard refraction to, quote, bring it back. Why do you think people like Paul and Rumpus say the words, bring it back? Why do you think that's needed if we can already see it, Dawn?
Well, why can't we see the beach? You're going to invoke refraction.
Oh, God. Yeah, you've just descended into retardation.
Yeah, I'm just being silly, but you have to invoke refraction. Yeah, don't you?
No, we have something that is genuine called refraction, and it can be explained and will be explained on our model. It's not...
So your refraction is genuine, and the globe refraction is woo-woo.
I haven't said that. We haven't debunked refraction. Until we present our model, we have two situations, Dawn. And this is where I will duck out. But I will explain the two scenarios to you as concisely as I can, and it's up to you which you accept. The first is that the lighthouse physically is not there. That is a geometric fact. We cannot see it. There is a wall of water in the way, a hill in the way. We can't see it because we can't see through walls. Therefore, it's not there. However, we have slightly looming non-standard refraction lifting that item, not physically, but optically, a visual effect of it being lifted 600 feet plus beyond the curve to the horizon, so it can be looming in our vision. It isn't physically there, it's an optical effect lifting it 600 plus feet to the horizon. So you couldn't shoot it, it's a hologram. People don't like that word either, Dawn, but that's the reality. It isn't physically there, it's an optical representation of something that we cannot see. That's the hold on, just let me get to the end. I'm nearly there, Dawn. 30 more seconds. That's the explanation on a globe. Now, you can accept that. It is an acceptable explanation on your model. It's a band-aid theory, but it's an explanation. Or you can accept that we simply see it because it is there, because we live on a flat plane. There are two explanations. You don't have to accept the flat plane explanation. I don't have to accept the globe explanation. But either are acceptable. You just have to accept one or the other.
But Isle of Man shoreline is there, but it's invisible in the composite.
No, what you see is what you get. So what you see in the composite is what was taken by a camera. When people ask me, why isn't the beach there? I would reply, why isn't the beach being loomed up the same 600 feet as the rest of the island?
Do you think refraction is the same all the way down and it brings everything up?
That's what you think. That's your explanation for your model that fails to represent us seeing the lighthouse on a sphere 24,900 miles in circumference. It simply isn't there. It is impossible to see.
Why isn't the beach there, though, on your composite?
Because of refraction.
Yeah, you see how that's kind of ironic?
Yeah, not refraction the way you understand it on the ball side. Refraction
So
the way you see evidence in the picture.
Refraction.
Yes,
refraction. You keep on bringing the
Let me just explain.
One
Just
second,
give him an
guys.
answer. That's a
one second,
reasonable
guys.
question.
Refraction.
Hold on, don't pounce on him. That's a perfectly
One
reasonable
second,
question.
I'm going to drop out now, guys. I've been called out. I'll speak to you later, yeah?
Thanks, Ali. But he's
Alright,
got a
good luck,
reasonable
guys.
question. Does it to the outside world? If we're saying refraction, what a load of nonsense! You're claiming that it can bend things round a curve up 600 feet so that it's on top of a wall. That's what you guys say refraction does. We say refraction blocks the bottom of things depending on your elevation.
Yeah, so, but you tell us our refraction is woo-woo, and we tell you your refraction is woo-woo.
When we have asked for evidence from the best minds you can throw at us, they have none.
I think you're misrepresenting.
No, that's
Paul.
an absolute fact. The amount of times I have asked Paul Voigt to go to the evidence and demonstrate how the refraction works to get something to loom 600 feet from beyond your view, he has nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Well, he says if you use the correct observation height, lighthouse is perfectly visible.
You see, this is what. So he hasn't. So even from the chat right now, he can't take you to the evidence and actually demonstrate something to allude to the fact that he asserts that it is being loomed up 600 feet from beyond your view. He just says we've got the altitude of the observation wrong. In reality, what that is called, Dawn Treader, is a straw man argument.
I can't believe I'm having the Isle of Man refraction debate with you. I'd rather move on to something else.
It's not a debate.
Of course.
It's not a debate.
Standard refraction bends light upwards, which causes things to bend in our inner visuals slightly downward. That's standard refraction. And standard refraction is standard because that is the common thing. So your constant argument of non-standard refraction, it's rarely there. It doesn't apply most of the time. That's why it's non-standard. Yet you think that non-standard refraction is the standard, and that's just a very crazy inside-out assumption. Because usually it is standard. And that means that bend lights upwards slightly, which causes this slant, this apparent slight curvature effect.
I'm being told that the 600 feet is disingenuous. You're misrepresenting the model.
Who's
Okay.
telling you that?
It's all right. Basically, it seems to me that Dawn Treader wants to be told the answers from chat. Whoever's giving him the answers on chat, feel free to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth.
Yeah, so I admitted when they told me. I'm a bit out of my depth with the refraction debate, you know what I mean? Because we're both just arguing against each other, where we have science on our side explaining our refraction, and you're making yours up.
No, you don't have science.
We're
Hold on,
using
let him
the
finish.
actual
Don't
science.
pounce on
You're
him.
misrepresenting
Dawn's
science.
doing a really good job, and you're all pouncing on him halfway through his sentences. Can you just let him get to the end of each of his points?
I know what Owen's like.
You're actually doing a very good job, Dawn. You're asking extremely pertinent questions.
Okay, thanks. I might let Lottie say
Nathan, I just want to congratulate Nathan on his fake nice guy moderating. Going down well, I like it.
Nathan, do you think that the term hill in any way references potential energy as an implication?
No,
I don't.
No, not at
Utter
all.
nonsense. Utter nonsense.
I think that's the gap you were looking for if you want to present something. Did you want to present something?
Sure. Yesterday, as I say, I only came into this hangout like towards the beginning, but I didn't hear anything of what was said beforehand because I was doing a bit. And I wanted to finish off yesterday's show,
Nathan,
but we ran out of time.
Sorry, Sleeping Warrior. Sorry, Nathan, you've got a guest here. You should introduce him.
He normally wipes people out.
Nathan, you've got a guest. Nathan, you should introduce him.
Yep.
Lottie's a moron. Would you like to speak?
Shut up, fathead. Nathan, do your job.
Yep, Nathan.
No,
do your
I
job.
think he knows exactly what you're trying.
He might be out of his keyboard at the minute because he knows I'm about to present.
Come on, introduce me.
Yeah, you go ahead, Sleeping Warrior. You make your presentation. Feel free.
You've just spoke, so you've introduced yourself. Anyway, yesterday, there's two things that I'm going to make a point of now to do with Miles. Miles yesterday basically came on to defend his position that the application of the Ordnance Survey map was not dishonest. And I can see where he's coming from. I can see the argument, and I can see the argument is a direct attempt to try and dismiss the allegation of dishonesty on his part against him. I don't think it's acceptable, to be honest, but he tried to argue it, and I can see his point. Disagree with him because it doesn't match reality, and if it doesn't match reality, then that's a problem. However, yesterday, this is where one thing that was said, specifically in chat, where I'm going to show that Miles is, again, lying. Now, I'm going to play this from yesterday. I'm going to make sure my sound's up, and just listen to his words.
This personal abuse that you guys are directing at me.
Personal abuse. We pointed out that you lied.
claim,
It's not personal
Okay,
abuse.
Nathan,
You've
are you
presented
going to let me
inaccurate
speak or
facts,
not?
and we've pointed that out. That's not personal.
Calling someone a moron is not personal abuse.
Miles Davis, the title of this debate is Flat Earth Debate 138 Live. The title of the video that you produced yesterday is Anthony Riley lying again.
No, that's not the title of my video.
What's it
The
called?
title of my video is Anthony Riley lying again? Question mark.
Oh, with the question mark. Right, I forgot about that. However, you then go into great detail about how he could be lying, and is he lying? Lying. We're not doing that here. We haven't titled it, Is Miles Davis lying? It's Flat Earth Debate 138. Nobody's going to search this. Only the people in this chat are going to hear how we've called you out.
Now, at this point, I'm just playing this because of the context. I don't want to misrepresent anything that's said or the context in which it was used. But Miles is being challenged on the videos that he's been making because he uses the word liar or lying or whatever in it. And essentially, that's really what he was being questioned on by Ranty. We have a bit of a sound issue, which Nathan then fixes, which disturbs the chat. And then it's Miles' comment immediately after.
Everything in the video that you've done is now pointed not just at Anthony, but you've done it to me.
Sorry, I've got to click on the Christmas special.
So Miles has just said, Ranty's just said to Miles that you've called me, meaning himself, a liar in the past. Listen to his words. No, I didn't. That is what his actual words were. No, I didn't. Let's hear it again.
Liar in the past.
No, I didn't.
All right, so he's clearly saying, Ranty said, you called me a liar in the past. Miles is saying, no, I didn't. Let's hear it again 1/3 time.
He's now pointed not just at Anthony, but you've done it to me in the past, and you've called me a liar in the past.
No, I didn't.
Right. No, I didn't. It's the black and white. It's as clear as day, as clear as you can possibly make it. No, I didn't. Okay.
Nice.
Now, most of us know that he did.
It doesn't really matter. Let's just get on with it.
So this is the Christmas show. This is the Christmas show on the 1980 channel, and it at 1 hour 56 minutes. Let's hear what Miles says.
First window to the last window and compare the two.
Where's
Ranty,
the 44
talk about the
feet
boat
of
on the left like Miles wants to.
Right, okay.
Well,
Well,
right,
right. Okay, so sorry.
Ranty, will
right,
you
okay,
address me?
Right, go on then.
Ranty,
Got no sound from me at the moment. Did you know that?
It isn't the Bibby. No. Wait a minute.
Wave Master 1.
Which it isn't.
It is.
No, it is not. It's a trawler boat. It's actually a crab boat.
No, it's not, Ranty.
Yes, it is.
You're lying.
No, that's why I removed it from the.
Lie about
No. Wait a minute. When I
Ranty, finish the sentence.
Don't let him try to take it back from you. You did a good job.
So he's clearly calling Ranty a liar publicly, right? And it went to the point where we pushed him, and he's actually now made a video in apology for calling him a liar. But yes,
And I really, really do enjoy being Peter defecated on. I know that's kind of weird, but I don't know if you might be down with it.
but in yesterday's show, he literally completely denies calling him a liar. That is a lie. That is literally lying in front of everybody. However, my second point...
Riley, what's this got to do with anything? Why are you bringing this up? Who cares? What relevance has this got to do with what we're talking about?
It's relevant because it happened yesterday.
Yeah, but why did you interject with this I don't understand what relevance it's got to do with the conversation that was happening just now. Why are you
Because
bringing
Nathan
this up?
gave me the opportunity to do so and I took it.
No one cares. This is a personal issue with you and Miley. It's not with you and Miles. You don't need to bring it up here randomly.
Actually, sorry to
no one cares.
Well, the problem is, Lottie, I'll just explain to Lottie why we're doing this. So this person has gone to a specific observation point in St. Bees and presented evidence that he claims...
We're not talking about this. We're talking about the issue with Miles calling Ranty a liar. It's argumentative. No one cares. It's got nothing to do with the debate.
Well, yesterday...
You're just trying to character assassinate. Shut up, Arwin. I'm in the middle of talking.
No,
I'm in the middle of talking.
Interrupting. Stop interrupting. Just let him talk.
Nothing to do with anything. Character assassination. It hasn't got anything to do with the facts or the data presented.
Oh, you're assassinating everyone all the time, so just let him
Oh,
finish.
Arwin, shut up. I'm not in the mood for you, you bloody crazy little weird boy.
If you can calm down enough, Lottie, just for me to explain.
There's not a
So he has
character
presented
assassination
evidence.
from you right now, so just let him talk.
It's not an assassination of your character.
Yeah,
it's a true
it is.
representation
Yes, it
of what you
is.
are.
You two,
Stop interrupting and just let him finish.
Come on. We're just obfuscating the point.
No,
So
but
he's gone out
all
and
right,
made
then,
an
okay,
observation, Lottie.
fair, right. But who cares about this? You're just assassinating his character.
No, we're not. He's
saying
gone out
he
and
called
made an
Ranty a liar.
observation, Lottie.
It doesn't matter. Just
Keep saying the
get
same
on
thing
with
over
the-
and
get
over
on with
again,
the
Lottie.
debate,
It's getting a bit frustrating.
and let's keep it
You
relevant,
keep saying
Nathan.
the
I'm here
same
to help
thing
you.
rather than listening to the answer,
Right,
Lottie.
you've called him a liar, he's called you a liar. There's no point in going over it.
Yeah, but the difference is Anthony hasn't lied and Miles Davis has. That's the
Oh,
difference.
yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
No, he has lied.
Yeah, so if you'll let me explain, it's specific to the debate. He's gone out and made an observation that he claims proves the Earth is a sphere, and we have debunked his assertions based on the lie he told about his elevation. Fairly straightforward stuff. If he didn't lie about his elevation, the observation position, we wouldn't be calling him out and pointing out that his evidence that supports, in his view, sphericity is completely bunk and completely disingenuous because he has lied. Now we're proving again that he's consistently lied about many things, even on that very debate.
And the reason, of course, why this is relevant is because yesterday, Miles claimed 40 feet for an observation height at the top of the hill because Ordnance Survey supported it, but rejected Al-Kay's known measurement height of 16 feet for the pole he was carrying. He rejected that in favour of the Ordnance Survey because it was particularly favourable to his position. And that's disingenuous. That is even
what Miles has done. He's wasted a lot of time. He's wasted a lot of Baller's time. You know, he could have brought this out a long time ago.
He's lied. That's what he's done. He's lied. He lied yesterday, and he's going to keep lying, and I'm going to keep showing it every time he does, because I think that Miles needs to realise that he can't flippantly and recklessly use the phrase "No, I didn't" when he gets pointed out that he has lied in the past. Because
he
does lie.
Hey,
Bruising Baller, how you doing?
Miles speaks for you guys.
Hold on,
They're going
Spurs.
down there to do the test for you.
No, he doesn't, Chemo. Stop being stupid. He speaks for himself, Chemo. Shut up, Chemo. He speaks for himself. Don't make something up. No, if you're going to say that he speaks for me, I'm going to interrupt you and let you know that he doesn't. He speaks for himself and the evidence, and that's it.
My apologies to Bruising Baller. No one's prepared to shut up long enough for me to say hello to you, hence I've had to kick you. Sorry.
Believes in the ball.
So?
You say
Spurs, you got spoke over, because Spurs, when someone comes in, just make sure you stop speaking because we need them to speak.
My mic's still working upstairs, sorry.
Welcome, Starstorm and Scott Hooper. There we go. Great.
Hello.
Hello. How you doing?
Hi guys. So this is
hello. Good to have you both here.
This
Thank you
is
for saying hello.
Lottie, this is a collective effort, right? You know, you were waiting for Miles just as much as anybody else to release the information. No. So, you know, you're in here defending Miles. So obviously he speaks.
I don't care about Miles' observations one bit.
No,
Can I just ask
Miles
Starstorm
speaks for himself, and the evidence is speaking for itself as well.
Yeah, totally disingenuous lies. Yeah, that's right. It does speak for itself.
So you're disassociating yourself from Miles, then? Is that what you're saying?
No, not at all. It's not. That's a stupid false dichotomy. I'm saying he doesn't speak for me. That doesn't mean I disassociate myself from him completely.
No, we're not saying he speaks for you,
He does not
we're saying
speak
he lies.
for me. That's it.
Lottie, we're not saying he speaks for you. We're saying that he tells lies.
I didn't say you did. Spurs Chemo said it. Spurs Chemo, come on, Darren. He said Alke speaks on your behalf. He speaks for you, and he does not.
I'm saying all the ball earthers are reading off the same hymn sheet. So whatever Miles is saying, are reading off the same hymn sheet. So
Hellboy, welcome. Can you mute your watch page, please? Hellboy, welcome.
Hello. Yes.
Mute your watch page, Hellboy.
Right here, that's me.
Thank you. Good
Thank you.
Can we get back to the topics instead of arguing about nothing?
Yeah, I
think liars are important to talk about, to be honest.
Are singing off the same hymn sheet. So if Miles has information that supports the ball, should be like, Miles, get it out there. Show those guys. If he gets it wrong, or get it wrong, because none of you have able to prove, you know, Anthony or Miles to be wrong or right, and that's why Miles needs to be called that if he is lying.
You're an idiot, Spurs, and you really shouldn't have interjected.
I have a couple of points about the globe Earth that no one's ever bothered to take up, but anyway, we'll carry on.
Are you sure that
no one Jazz, I'd love to hear it, mate.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
I said about this a couple of a month and a half ago, 6 weeks ago. Orbital mechanics. Prove orbital mechanics wrong, and then you can prove that space is fake.
Okay, and we had that conversation, and I asked you to choose. Would you like to discuss Venus or Jupiter? And I'll ask you again.
You know, yeah, go ahead.
Ask me again. Ask me again.
Would you like to discuss Venus, or would you like to discuss Jupiter?
Because of Jupiter.
No. Orbital mechanics means that a mass can orbit another mass that's a sphere.
So you don't want to talk about the orbital mechanics of Venus or Jupiter?
What the hell does orbital mechanics mean?
Exactly. That's exactly my point. You just answered it perfectly.
Okay.
The mechanics
to
of
you,
orbits.
what does
who is in the title?
orbital mechanics mean to you?
No, what does it mean to you? Nothing.
Orbital mechanics to me, I'm pretty sure there's a good reason behind that term. But
To
I
you,
think you're taking
just-
it out of context. You're taking that term out of context, and you're essentially trying to make it out as something fucking ridiculously stupid.
No
I'd
swearing.
rather hear what
No,
the
I'm
hell
not.
you
I'm not.
know.
I'm not. Carry on. I'm not trying to make it sound something stupid. It's something that exists, and if you can prove that it doesn't exist, or if you can prove that it cannot happen, then you undoubtedly prove that space doesn't exist, and then you undoubtedly prove that everyone would have to question the shape of the Earth.
So can I for me, can you just tell me why you don't accept that the transit of Venus or Jupiter is orbital mechanics?
It is orbital mechanics.
Okay, great. So which one would you like to talk about? Venus or Jupiter?
Do you want to talk about the moon and the Earth as well, or
you asked someone to debunk orbital mechanics, and I've got two options for you, and I want you to pick which one.
Or Jupiter and Titan and Elu or Galileo or
So what you're saying is debunk orbital mechanics, but only use specific parts of it that you like.
I didn't use specific parts. I used many different parts. You said Jupiter. I named many different bodies. You said the Earth. I named different bodies. It all
I'm
works
specifically
the same.
asking you for which one you want to pick. You can both or either will debunk orbital mechanics for you, and I ask you which one you want, just to give you the preference so that you can see that I'm not being biased. Would you like to pick one, or would you like to exclude both because they don't help?
Well, seeing you're such an expert, let's go with the moon and the Earth.
No, you had two choices.
Seem they're
Venus
close by neighbours. We're on one, and one's
Those were your choices. So you're saying debunk orbital mechanics, but you can only use the moon or the Earth. Is that correct?
No, that's not what I was saying.
That's pretty much what you exactly said. He said, I can debunk orbital mechanics. Which one do you want me to debunk it with, Venus or Jupiter? And you said, well, I want you to use the Earth and the moon.
Nathan, you do remember that you record this, don't you?
No, you're joking. Really?
Oh.
Someone hold the phone, call the president.
Call Donald Trump.
So yeah,
just remember
so you say debunk orbital mechanics, but only use the Earth and the moon. Is that what you're asking? Is that what you're asking us to do?
What I said was flat Earth, right? Space station doesn't exist. The moon landings don't exist. Orbital mechanics. That's how we got there. But that doesn't.
Yeah, but we kind of stopped
so we didn't get
when we got to the point where you were choosing which one you wanted to debunk orbital mechanics with, and you decided that you couldn't use either.
I'm not choosing. What I'm saying is that these things happened in history. I'm saying that it's orbital mechanics that got us there. You're saying it's fake. So I'm saying disprove orbital mechanics, and you prove, without a shadow of a doubt.
You've heard all this. You've heard this twice. This is
he
dull.
offered.
All you need to do is
wait to
one
debunk,
minute.
and you didn't actually let him. You just distracted to another argument. Every time you get to choose, you choose something that is not an option for you to choose. Every time.
Dude. I'm not
Venus or Jupiter, and you say the moon. Every time we give you a choice, you choose something else. Every single time. Why don't you just choose?
Dude. Orbital mechanics. We used it to get to the moon. Right?
Okay,
and you don't believe that.
He wanted to debunk it. He gave you an option, and you chose something else.
If you want it to be that orbital mechanics proves you went to the moon, just accept it. Don't ask people to disprove it and then discount everything they try and throw at you.
Just accept it. Don't ask people.
Yeah, you donkey. You
I'm
need
not.
to put your page on
Nathan. I'm not. You can't You can't say that. That's not doing your job as a moderator. Of course he can. Because it's his channel. He can do what he wants. Does that mean it's his job as a moderator?
You're in a conversation with yourself here.
Holy freaking hell.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm not saying anything. All I'm saying...
No, you aren't. You're correct about that.
Yeah, I think Howard's got you there, mate.
Yeah, no, it is hilarious. All I'm saying is you can't say that space is fake without proving orbital mechanics is fake.
Space is fake. We can prove it by debunking orbital mechanics.
Gave you an option. Which one did you choose? You chose neither. You chose to distract again.
I'll say literally what he's just said we cannot say. We can debunk orbital mechanics using
You can't
Venus
debunk orbital
or
mechanics.
Jupiter.
You haven't debunked orbital mechanics
Yeah, I'm
in
giving
2
us
or
a
3
chance.
years that this thing's
You've
going.
said we
You
must
have not
use
done it.
the space
That's why I'm
travel
saying do it.
and the moon and Earth. That's what you've said. So you give us very limited options to debunk your version of orbital mechanics, which seems to be limited to the Earth-Moon system.
No, Nathan. All I'm saying is debunk orbital mechanics.
Yes,
How
we've heard
can
you
a
say
mass
that now
orbit-
probably about 4
we
times.
wanted to do that.
That's
You didn't
all I'm
on
saying.
about
It's
4 different
very,
shows.
very simple.
And every time we
I'm
try
not
to,
letting
you don't
us
let us.
debunk it.
How you doing, Chris? Can you hear us?
Is that Chris that was just talking?
Yes, it is. How you doing, Chris?
Hey, Chris.
I've just mentioned it. I've never stopped you from doing it.
Can I just say I don't think any of you are capable enough to debunk orbital mechanics.
Well, not if you don't let us. If you don't give us.
None of you have the training or experience to. Not even close.
Why do you think you have to have training to do
Nate,
things?
can I just let you know, mate, that whoever's just come in is sniping people right now.
Oh, well, they've gone now. My apologies.
Arwin's
Who was that?
I don't know. Chris Seville. He did say hello, and I thought it was him. My apologies to Arwin, who got sniped.
Arwin, I'll
Can't
bring
disprove
you back in
space
the
either.
chat.
You just look upwards at night time. That is space. There's no getting away from that.
No, what I'm trying to say by disproving orbital mechanics is I'm trying to help you. Is if you can disprove that you can't orbit a sphere with any mass around a spherical mass, you.
So if you're going to just boot all the flat earthers and leave the show with nothing but a panel of idiot globe heads that literally have got no clue about anything and think you have to be trained in order to talk about something, yeah, I'll just end the hangout and start a new one. You know, offer the link out to people who are nice that don't snipe everybody. So, sheesh. Very annoying. There will be a couple of minute interlude while I start a new hangout. Still with us, Sleeping Warrior?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm just on silent because at the minute the dogs are just saying, pet me, pet me, pet me. So you want a bit of Phil for a minute while he set up a new hangout.
Yeah,
I have sent Arwin an invite to the Skype call. If he wants to rejoin the Skype call, he'll be back in.
Yeah, just
in the
link
meantime
on there. I just can't be bothered setting up 4 hangouts today, but you know, we've got about, I don't know, how long have we got left? Let's have a little look before I send out this link. Yeah, 3/4 of an hour left. It's worth setting up a new one, I think.
Well, just before you do, just share my screen for me whilst I address the email that I wanted to address. That was the second point I wanted to address. Because it appears that we have a state of ignorance from Miles's part. I'd like to just correct the record
let me know when
from
you're
Miles.
ready, because you've got this. What have you got at the moment? A Skype conversation. Is that what you want to be presented?
Please, yeah.
Yeah, that's on screen now, or should be.
Yeah, I see it. All right, so hang on, you're sharing. What is that you're sharing? No, not the Skype page. I'm sharing my screen on the Skype call.
That's all I've got.
Hang on, let me unshare and then reshare.
Try a different screen.
Share screen and sounds. That one. It should be an inbox. What you call it? A MSN inbox, Outlook email thing. It's in the sky.
Yes,
I've got it. Yay. Oh, why is it so?
No, it's all right.
There we go.
It's all good.
All right, so whilst we've got an interlude, whilst Nathan's setting up another hangout, I'll just hog the mic for a bit, and I'll read an email that Miles has sent me. Miles sent me an email which I have responded to, and he reads, and it reads, "Your claims regarding observer height at St. Bees are wrong. This coming from the guy that cites the Ordnance Survey map as somehow credible, yet ignores measurements, which debunk it. You know that Google Earth does not claim to be accurate. I have shown you that Google Earth measures the height of the cliffs alone, not height above sea level, to be between 2 and 4 meters along the stretch where you took your videos. I have shown you that Google Earth measures the height of the cliffs alone, not the height above sea level, to be between 2 and 4. No, the 35 feet, Miles, 35 and 52. You know that the cliffs are much more than 2 or 4 meters high, so you know Google Earth is not accurate. No, I'm standing by it because it appears to be accurate, Miles. That's my position. Ordnance Survey maps give the heights at about 30 meters and 20 to 25 for the two locations. Well, we showed by the video yesterday, Miles, that the Ordnance Survey map at the height that you claimed it at was nothing like what it measured up at. You claim to have used a tape measure to check the height. No, we used a tape measure to see how crazy the 30-meter adjustment for the inaccuracies on the Google Earth disclaimer are. That's what we actually checked. And you claim that your measurements agree with Google Earth. No, we claim that the 30-meter adjustment, either way, there is no evidence to support that. That's what we claimed. You seem to forget that I have also stood on these cliffs. No, I don't, Miles. But I also remind myself that you haven't produced much credible evidence to support the fact that you've stood on these cliffs. Specifically, what the tide was on the day that you claimed that you were at 40 feet above the water, which is complete and utter nonsense. We showed that that was false, Miles. I have also measured them in more than one way. Really? I have published a video that uses a phone app to get an angle and trigonometry to measure the cliff height. Well, citation, please. Preferably with a timestamp so I don't have to watch it all. This agreed with the Ordnance Survey maps. So how would you explain yesterday's conversation that was completely half of what the Ordnance Survey map said at your 40 feet elevation, Miles? I have used other methods not yet published that also show that Ordnance Survey maps are correct. Well, you can't cite something that you haven't published yet, Miles, because that's effectively no evidence. Having stood on those cliffs, I am at a loss to explain how anyone can think that they are only 35 feet above the water level at low tide. No, Miles, that's not the position. What my claim is that 35 feet above the water is what they are. Not at low tide. It can be high tide, medium tide, or low tide. You make the adjustment for water when you get the tide afterwards. But the 35 feet still stands, Miles. It's not at low tide. It can be at high tide or medium tide. So again, that's not the position. Back in October, I told you that all you could see was Isle of Man. Maybe. Citation, please. I also explained that even using 35 feet above mean sea level and adding 10 feet for low tide and 4 feet for the tripod of your viewer height was nearer to 50 feet. 50 feet what? Is that above the water level or is it above mean sea level? Because you should be referencing above the water because it's the water level that we use for for the curve calculator, not above mean sea level. So I don't care what you say in this instance. It doesn't make any difference. It's the height above water for the curve calculations that we're interested in, Miles. So why are you referencing mean sea level? Even at 50 feet, you should have been able to see the highest of the hills near Bride. Even at 50 feet, it depends on what you're referring to when you say 50 feet. But I agree. You should see, at some point, as you go up the hills, you should see the tippy tops of the hills at Bride as the curve is cancelled out by your elevation. But that's not what we see, is it, Miles? The evidence does not show that. We see significant, prominent land that is not the tippy tops of the hills at Bride. We see all of the hills at Bride, Miles, and we see it from the 35 feet elevation. So you're not referencing the evidence, you're referencing the rhetoric. And I'm saying that there's a disparity between the two. In fact, your actual elevation above actual sea level at the time was around 80 feet. What are you referring to, though? Are you referring to the 35 feet observation? And at this elevation, your observation is exactly what the curve calculators predict. Nonsense, Miles. Absolute nonsense. That land on the video that I made the claim on should not be visible behind the curve of the Earth. It's that simple. Where you get this nonsense from, Miles, I have no idea. Does any of this prove the Earth is a spheroid or a flat plane? Yes. But you say no. As I explained to you before, all evidence must be considered. Yes. And any explanation or model must account for all the evidence. Yes, well, ours does. There is no curve. We just see things because they're there. There's a little band of refraction that sits on the horizon, and it makes things appear to float. That's it. But where's the missing curve, though, Miles? To date, all the evidence, including yours, ever collected fits the spheroid Earth model. Are you kidding me, Miles? To date, all of the evidence, including mine, fits the Earth's model, so that it's most likely to be true. That's nonsense, Miles. I will repeat again, if anybody ever finds evidence that really does not fit the spheroid Earth model, I would be delighted. Really? Okay, Miles, so at the end of the show yesterday, you were challenged. And for those that didn't see yesterday, the challenge was, we can see Mackle Lighthouse from his observation point at night time, flashing away like a Christmas tree. And the problem with that is that the elevation, whatever elevation he puts, 40 feet or otherwise, basically we can stand where Miles was here, and on Google Earth it puts it to 30 feet, and I'm not against it. We measured it at 29, but it's about right. We can see Mackle Lighthouse flashing like a Christmas tree. If you do the curve calcs on that, it can't be seen. It's so far behind the curve of the Earth, it becomes ludicrous. It becomes a joke. It becomes a laughing stock. And I've challenged Miles to come and do the observation in person with his own 2 eyes and see it for himself. If we see a blink pattern that matches the blink pattern from the 3 blinks every 30 seconds, Miles has got some explaining to do. That's the challenge. Miles, I'm going to reassert my position. Come and do the observation with us, with me. We'll do it together. You can bring witness protection or whatever in case there's an accident falling down a cliff. I get it. I understand it. I'd do the same too. And I will do the same. But nonetheless, from here, we can see the Mackle Lighthouse flashing. It can't happen on a spheroid Earth, Miles. None of the evidence supports your assertion that it's spherical. None of it. Anyway, this would mean a step.
Sorry.
I don't mean you. Go on.
I was just going to say, none of it's there on a sphere. None of it.
No. Yo, Spurs. I don't mean evidence that just requires a minor change to the polar or equatorial radius. I mean something that shows the shape of the Earth is dramatically different. Well, Mars, you have that at the 52 feet elevation. You have that. You just refuse to accept it, and you change my elevation to upwards of 100 and odd feet. And you need to get it to 250 to see the stuff far down the island. That's the point you have to remember. But Mackle Lighthouse shouldn't be seen in any event. So you can pick either. We see it. It's there, Miles. And Rancy's done it. He's done it twice. It's been verified now. And Rancy's putting together all the evidence to support the verification of the observation. However, the chances of anyone finding such evidence is very small given the vast amount of evidence that exists which confirms the spheroid shape of the Earth. Nonsense, Miles. You're talking rhetoric. You're not talking evidence. I'm not sure why you claim that filming Mackle Lighthouse flashing is difficult. Go on.
No, go on. I'm just listening.
I'm not sure why you claim that filming Mackle Lighthouse flashing is difficult. Well, I made reference to that, Miles, just for the avoidance of doubt from this position here, because it was a bit misty on the night. And a bit misty creates opacity in the atmosphere, and you can't see through it. It reduces the visibility. It's nothing to do with bendy light, refraction, and the curvature of the Earth. It's just the mist that's in the air, Miles. If you put enough moisture in the way, that light disperses around us and we can't see it. It becomes a block in the way we can't see it. That's all it is. That's what I was referring to. So if you don't know, if you're not sure, now consider yourself educated. It's the mist or the opacity of the atmosphere, or as Paul Voigt calls it, the atmospheric thickness. It's clearly visible with the naked eye from sufficiently high elevation. Yeah, Miles, it's clearly visible with the naked eye from your car park too. I would be very interested to see the conditions under which Mackle Lighthouse flashing can be seen from elevation at about 40 feet. No, Miles, it isn't 40 feet. We had this conversation yesterday. We showed that the most you could possibly be was 29 feet. That was when the tide was high, and wherever the tide came up to gave us the variation to show whatever elevation you were at, and you conveniently didn't have that evidence to show. So the most you could be was 29 feet. So again, Miles, you're lying. It would require a very low tide. Not true.
Sorry to interrupt. So a couple of people in the comments were like, why would you use the video of a storm surge? Well, the reason is because were they to be the conditions, then his altitude above sea level would be 0 or 1 feet, or the height of the tripod, because the sea was bashing up against those cliffs. So if he's standing on those cliffs, if you can call them that.
I didn't use a storm. I used a video that was described as high tide St. Bees, and in the description it says January 14 was very windy, made impressive waves combined with a spring tide. So I'm not saying this is not a storm. It's just called high tide St. Bees, and that was just what I did on the fly, on the phone, literally on the. It's just high tide.
Yeah, but that's
whether
aside,
this is typical high tide.
I'm not saying that they are replicating the conditions, but what I am saying is that position is covered in water, the position that he would have been observing from. So when you look at Google Earth and it says 29 feet, it's taking mean sea level. That's what it is. And there's no apologies needed if you've got that information under your belt. It's taken from mean sea level. It takes a load of different geodetic surveying referencing points for sea level, and as we talked on this show earlier, that's what they're trying to hide from you by giving you all these convoluted figures about sea level. But the point I'm making is that if he was to take the observation on that day, his elevation would be 3 feet, the height of the tripod, because that's where the water was splashing. So the 29 feet measurement that Google Earth gives that for that location is based on the fact that some of the tides completely cover that location, and obviously when the tide's low, it's further out and much, much lower. But the mean value is 29 feet.
Yeah. Now, this is the point where, look, this final paragraph can be debunked in one little sweet video that came out recently from Phuket Word, Nick. It would require a very low tide. Increasing the effective observer height, well, that wouldn't negate the curvature of the Earth, Miles. All that would negate would be the effective perspective with regards to the tide in front of you. So if I go to Nick at Phuket Word, we can see, if I can find him quickly on the left-hand side. Where is he? Phuket Word, where is he? Oh, I've just seen him. Did I? No. Where is I should have had this one lined up, actually. Apologies for the delay. Where is Phuket Word? He normally stands out like a sore thumb. Right. He does it in reference to the sun, but what I want to show Miles is the problem that he doesn't understand with regards to high tide, low tide, because the high tide, low tide is not going to change the geometry of the Earth. All it changes is these are big waves. Now, we don't really see these as big waves in real world at St. Bees. They can be big waves, but usually these waves in the foreground are what blocks out the thing in the background because of perspective. So in this case, the sun is being obliterated by the waves in the foreground. Well, the same applies to a high tide or a low tide in relation to your observer height above it. So if the high tide is right in front of you, as it would be in the case with Miles at high tide, then these waves block out the thing that's in the background. Now, on this occasion, you can see the sun is way in the sky, but they get blocked out. It gets blocked out by the waves in the foreground. That's exactly what we see. So it's not about whether it's high tide or low tide. It's about how close you are to the actual surface of the water at the time of the observation. Again, the amount of curvature that this is behind on the geometric shape of the Earth, Miles, is huge. It is not there in real world, or it shouldn't be there in real world on your model. So you're misrepresenting your model by saying that it would require a very low tide. No, you just need to be above the waves. That's all it is. Increasing the effective observer height and also reducing the amount hidden. No, Miles, it doesn't change the geometry of the Earth. Plus, you should never see this lighthouse from that car park, ever. It's that far behind the curve, Miles. It's simply gone, and you show a complete misunderstanding for your own model by citing this.
Same goes for the top of the hill.
Sorry?
Didn't see the lighthouse. Geometrically, seeing it from any location, up and down that ridge, is impossible on a sphere. It's not there.
Correct. So let's go back to the point in hand that Nathan's talking about. Whether you're arguing over my location here, or whether you're arguing about most people accept that I was here, but they argue over what the height is. It shouldn't be seen on your model, no matter what. But even if you're going to argue it from the geometry argument, which we never agree on, there's absolutely no way that it can be seen at this low elevation because you are right on top of the water here. You're about 20 feet off the promenade, and wherever the water comes up to, you're right on top of the water. Miles put 40 feet. It's not. It's 20 feet, and it's at the most 29 feet if you have the tide.
I want to give clarity to that right now while it's on screen. So don't go anywhere. Leave that there. So what we have now on screen is the position that Al Kay and Miles Davis, or whoever the hell was, those two globe heads that went out to film this location. Now, this location is the place we saw with the waves lapping up over it a moment ago in the storm surge video. Now, if Anthony can just put his mouse over the top position where they filmed downwards to get the...
To be fair, Nate, can I just correct you? Where the film was taken just before, where the storm was coming up, it was here.
Oh, right. Okay.
This is here, and these are the bench seats that were on show were actually these.
Oh, my apologies.
But so it is slightly different. But it's along the same line. This is what Miles claims what his calculation for this hill was.
It's not relevant to my point. My point was going to be that if they're standing, this is in that photograph that we've put up several times. It's one of my thumbnails, and I actually give him a bit more leeway. I think I put 24 feet. But when Al Kay went there and looked down, he's probably a 5.5 foot, 6 foot guy, and he's looking down. Oh, sorry. Can you just put that position back up?
Sure. I just want to find the. If I go, bollocks. Hang on. Let me go back to it. Yeah. I was hoping to find. It was thingy, wasn't it? Sorry. Totally derailed your point. I apologise.
Yeah, you did. So
sorry.
He's standing at the top of those things that look like steps. Now, coincidentally, half those steps are now gone since this image was taken by Google Earth because of erosion, i.e. the water gets right up to the bottom of those steps where they measured. And where they measured with a 16-foot pole, if you want to take their word for it, you've got literally his video with him looking down on it going, yeah, it's at least 20 feet. So, yeah, they think it's 20 feet. That's how high it is, and that's the high tide mark where he stood. Obviously, it's all eroded. Those steps are half gone now. That's why all these blocks are there, all these concrete, or whatever they are, boulders, are there to stop that happening, because that's where the water gets to. So they've measured it with this pole, which is 16 feet. Now, I'm not going to use their argument and say, well, clearly, that's only a 12, it's only a 12-foot high hill, because you're going to scale him up a little bit, being as he's maybe 5 feet, 5.5 feet tall. Apparently he's quite short, but we're obviously looking up at it, so the pole is higher than his position, and if you're at the top of the hill it looks lower because he's about 5.5 foot tall looking down on it. So the point is that somewhere in the middle is roughly where you've got the height of that hill, and it's about 16 feet. Maybe because they've angled the camera nice and high for this particular shot. Maybe it's a little bit more. Maybe it's a little bit, less, to use Miles' phraseology. But the bottom line is that 16-foot pole from this position is above the hill. That's the bottom line here. So that 16-foot pole is a reasonable tool for measuring this hill, which they claim is 40 feet based on the Ordnance Survey maps. We've said all along, I haven't measured it, but I've seen them on Skype and they've presented the videos to me. I'm confident to say that it's not anywhere near the wildly inaccurate assertion that the Ordnance Survey map leads them to state that he's higher than he says. And as we keep asserting, it wouldn't make any difference. You still wouldn't see Morgul Lighthouse, even if you went up another 150 feet. It wouldn't make a blind bit of difference. It still wouldn't be there. It's a geometric impossibility on a sphere. But the bottom line is all the people who've been asserting for a very long time that these heights are wildly inaccurate, here they are measuring something that is quoted on Google based on the mean sea level, the high tide being over the top of this based on that video we saw earlier. Now that's not exactly strictly true because it's not exactly the same location, so I would concede that if someone could prove that wrong, but within a few feet based on that video the tide's going to come up to about that point. Therefore you could say that at some point it's 6 feet including a tripod at high tide. So the mean sea level for that quoted on Google Earth is 29 feet, so it's much of a muchness. It's definitely not a mile out. And as you roll along the picture on Google Earth, Anthony, or zoom out a couple of steps and then roll out, you can see the difference in the first observation position. If you just put your mouse over that, that's perfect. Leave it exactly like that. That's the first observation. And you can see where they've measured with a 16-foot pole. We're not talking 100 feet difference between that point, and they've measured it with a 16-foot pole. It's on the picture behind right now. So these guys are claiming he's 100 foot in the air there. And then when you go up even further down the path, a little bit further to the absolute highest point you can get, again, you can see that it's not massively higher than the original point that they've measured. Yes, it's higher. And that's exactly what Anthony has continually stated, based on the values that are stated on screen now, what Google give. And based on their measurements of what Google give, Google's not wildly inaccurate in terms of the elevations of these cliffs. Yes, at an absolute high tide with a bit of wind, it would be at 0, not 29. And at low tide, you could probably say that it would be at, what's the tide for that, 7 meters? Is that right? Or is it 9?
I think it's 9.
Say again?
I think it's 9.
9 meters. So you'd obviously have to take that off from the top position when it's at 0 with the full high tide on top of it. So yes, there's going to be a variation, but what Google quote is to mean sea level, and it's not wildly inaccurate as claimed. He's not hundreds of feet in the air as claimed. It's all nonsense, and they've demonstrated that, and I'm glad it's them demonstrating it so we can tear apart their methodology, because we're not trying to prove Google's assertions in terms of the elevations. That's not what we've been trying to do. Not at all.
So at this point, I just want to remind folk that on the actual Google image that I believe was taken from 2018, according to the 16, does that say? No, 18, 2018. Whenever this picture was taken on Google, the path is intact, okay? There's a little bit of erosion at the bottom, and you can see it follows the shape. But you can see in real world now that the path doesn't exist anymore at the bottom, and there's a drop. Now, since then, I've been back since then, and believe me, I know from first-hand experience that now is higher than this guy is because it's eroded more. Now, the point that Miles was making and failed to show evidently is what the actual height of the water on the day actually was, because the high tide could be down here somewhere, it could be the waterline here, but we know that it goes up to here as well because there is the erosion. So we know that the high tide mark is somewhere up here somewhere, otherwise there wouldn't be the erosion and there wouldn't be the defences that he's had to put in place. But we also know that the high tide could be as low as down here somewhere, or it could indeed be even further lower. But Miles didn't have that information. So the claim of 40 feet above water was based on no evidence. And when you don't produce evidence...
Sorry, I can't help myself. I'm so sorry to keep interrupting you. But even if you put your mouse at the lowest possible point the high tide could be, that's about 6 foot on top of what he's got. And he's holding a 16-foot pole. So if you want to say, okay, well, 22 feet, 23 feet, 24 feet, it's nowhere near 40, even if you give him every allowance possible.
Yeah, the most we gave him was 29. That was the most we gave because we calculated this to 21. Ranty said 25 yesterday, but I'm pretty sure he's not right there. Counted from here, we counted 21. I've got it on a video. We checked it, and it was 21. I think Ranty misspoke. But in any event, it doesn't make any difference. The variation comes from where the high tide comes up to. So even if it was 25 or 21, it doesn't make any difference. The key point that Miles didn't have was where was the actual water when he did his observation, because that really does change the observer height above water. It's not the observer height above the mean sea level, which is what he cited in the email I've just read from. It's the height above water at the time. That's it. So Miles was not being totally... what he did, strictly speaking, he claimed that the tide was somewhere between high tide and middle tide. Now, it was 6 centimeters off high tide. Now, strictly speaking, if you're gonna play the semantic card, Miles isn't actually incorrect when he says that. It is somewhere between high tide and middle tide. But the implication that you get from his phraseology at the time was that it was somewhere significantly lower.
No. That's not semantics. No, that's not semantics. You don't have to apologise for him. No. What he then did was extrapolate the maths based on that phraseology, and he minused off precisely what he said it had gone down by. So you can't say it's just semantics, because technically, yeah, it is between high and mid because it's gone down 5 centimetres. Not when he then minuses off a couple of metres there and then.
Yeah, okay.
So that's his assertion,
I agree.
And he's lying.
I agree. If he'd have produced the high tide evidence to show what the tide was and then described it as somewhere between high tide and middle tide, then we would have called him on it and said, that looks like high tide to me. So no, I agree. It wasn't really semantics. It was distraction, because he couldn't show the height of the water because he'd used the Ordnance Survey elevation, which is a line that appeared at the top here, which Miles said was 12 meters, and it's clearly wrong. Don't know why it's wrong. I'm not trying to debunk Ordnance Survey. I'm just saying that when there's a known measurement value of 16 feet, then whatever the height turns out to be, it's no more than 20, quoting Ranty, 25, quoting me, 21. But in any event, when you're
quoting Al K 20, sorry, just add that in. Quoting Al K 20.
Ah, yeah, you're right. Al quoted it in this video at about 20 feet. I could play it actually because I've got it here. Should I play it?
Yeah, if you want.
Just over halfway up, I tried to stop, and you've got some kind of frame of reference.
Can you hear it?
Not really. Don't worry about it. Go and check the video if you want to hear him say it.
crap piece of video. I was basically.
I'm just trying to turn the volumes up on it, make sure it's high enough.
It's probably going to be too fuzzy to see. Even though I'm not at the top yet.
Yeah, it's as high as I can get it. But he's not a loudspeaker. Basically, he puts this at 20. And that's where we put it at, because we measured it. So Al, by his own measurements and his own speech, says 20. Now, if I could strip the sound out so that you can hear it. And I think Al's still in chat now, is he? Maybe not. No, maybe. Oh, yeah, he is. So Al himself quotes this hill at 20 feet from this point.
I love it. He's accusing us of cherry picking. I love that.
No,
we've seen you standing next to it with a 16-foot pole, Al, and we've heard you say at least 20.
All right, so let's go for the part. I don't know how to make this any louder because I've got it as loud as I can get it.
I can do it. I'll just mute the guys in the Hangout so we don't have it all blasting out. Bear with me a second. Just give me 5 seconds.
Yeah.
There's too much gravel and it was kind of steep, so I started sliding down the hill. But it was just to kind of point to the top of this. Above the level of it, up to the top, but then just went up to the top. So let me just put that on.
It's coming up now.
Oops, that's the wrong one.
Try not to speak, Anthony, because you'll blast out.
Back up to the steps, which you obviously recognised a minute ago. This time, standing with the stick down there, you can see what I'm talking about. I'm having to look down at a fair angle still to look down at the top of this. And as I say, that's 16.5 feet. So this should give you the idea that you're talking about, if you were just taking a rough guess at the height, just standing at the step here, you're going to have to say to yourself, well, minimum 20 feet, probably 20 something feet, realistically. And
thank you very much, Al K. At least 20? Well, not at least 40 then.
Have you reset my volume?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
So even Al says it's 20 feet, but Miles puts it in at 40 feet. There is no way Miles was at 40 feet. Al K even says 20 feet minimum, 20 something. Well, we measured it to 21.
And based on the, sorry, I've got to get this in there again. Based on the tide evidence, could be as low as 0, just the tripod height. If it had gone during that condition that we showed when it says high tide, it could be as low as 0.
So Al's saying in chat now, let's just show this. Al's saying, see how that works. Yeah, what
Is
we're
there
doing
any way-
now is we're
Anthony,
using
is there any
your
way of
video.
giving Miles a chance, like we're missing something. Are we just being pedantic? Do you think?
No.
You tell us, Spurs.
This Al's
Hold
put,
on.
see
You
how
tell
that
us,
works.
Spurs. So he's standing there next to the observation position that he says is 40 feet, and he's measuring it with a 16-foot pole.
So let's just do this again, just for the let's see how this works, right? Let's do it again. Turn the volume up, Nate. Let's hear his words again.
See, that's 16.5. So, the idea, talking about, you were just taking a rough...
They seem to be saying it doesn't include the beach.
Wait a sec.
Step here. You have to say to yourself, well, probably 20. Realistically, that's to this concrete here. No, that doesn't even...
Right. So 20 feet to the concrete slab that he stood on, minimum.
You've got to wait. I've got you blasting out the audience.
Sorry, I thought you'd have turned it down when I stopped.
Not in a split second between you pausing it, no.
Sorry. What he's saying is that from this cliff, this concrete slab, it's 20, minimum 20. Well, we measured it at 21, and we agree with Al. But Al's putting in text right now. See what's happened here. Let me pull up the text thing. Where is it? There. Al's put, see how that works. Well, what we're actually doing is using Al's own evidence to prove that Miles could not be at 40 feet. Do you see the problem here? We know that the water comes up to this point because there's flood defences in the way and there is evidence of erosion. So depending on where the high tide was, and we showed evidence that said it was the highest tide of the week, then it's not unreasonable for us to think that the water might have been up to this point. But Miles didn't have the evidence to show where it actually came up to. So we can assert that the water level came up to the point where this guy is stood. And yes, we're using your evidence against you, Al, to show that Miles wasn't being truthful. He was misrepresenting this height because he found that Ordnance Survey was practically very supporting of his position, and he argues that that wasn't dishonest on his part. But what is dishonest on his part is that he rejects this measurement because he knows that this is a 16 feet pole. He rejects that in favour of Ordnance Survey, so he has two pieces of contradictory evidence there, but he rejects this one because Ordnance Survey is preferential to his argument. That, by definition, is cherry picking. Pick the argument.
They don't like it. Al's not very happy with us using his evidence to show that a 16-foot pole is incapable of measuring a 40-foot high hill. That's kind of an impossibility. Yeah, you're going to look down on it if you're about 5 foot, Al K. Yeah, you're going to be looking down on it. That's because you're taller than the hill.
But don't forget, the tripod that the camera's on is what, 2 feet tall, whatever, 3 feet? You can take that off for the height of the hill. So whatever measurement he's calculating this hill at doesn't include the observer height of the camera. So you can take that off, not add it. You can take it off. That doesn't include the hill. But in any event, we measured this at 21 feet. So Al's not being dishonest when he's claiming 20 feet minimum. He's not being dishonest. Al's being honest. That is what the hill height is. The one that's being dishonest is Miles for claiming that the Ordnance Survey map says 40 feet, therefore it's correct. No, Miles, you've got somebody on your own side that's measuring it, and he's telling you it's about 20 feet, 21, 22 maybe. Well, we've measured it at 21 feet, and we agree with Al. So why is it that you're using the Ordnance Survey map that cites 40 feet? Is it simply because it supports your position, and you reject the argument from Al? Wonder why you did that, Miles.
So just to be clear again, when people want to cite the Ordnance Survey map as being, quote, more accurate, we're in a position where Al's gone and measured a hill, and if you put your mouse on that hill, in Google Earth it says it's 29, and the value that he has got to is lower than 29. Yeah? Now Ordnance Survey says it's higher than 29. So, in most instances, you could say, well, split the difference. But then you have to think, which is more inaccurate? Which one's giving you a wild inaccuracy? And which one's pretty close to accurate. And in this instance, the one that's wildly inaccurate is the Ordnance Survey. It doesn't represent what they've measured. The one that does, unfortunately, I don't want to have to admit this, but is Google Earth. It's the one that is more accurate in terms of the elevations at the location. And that's what we concluded long ago. We knew this was only going one way. They could only obfuscate and distract for so long before the truth came out. The truth is the truth is the truth. So you can lie about your height all you like, but eventually it's just going to get unravelled. Now, this is probably the reason why they wanted this debate shut down, because we're not giving up. We're not going to just let these things lie, and as much as Lottie wants to say, who cares, you're just assassinating his character, it's like, that's all they've done. These are the people that have tried to assassinate Anthony's character, and in reality, they are the people lying. They are the people misrepresenting their position, and they are the people that need to be called out as such. And that's precisely what we're going to do, and have done with Miles Davis in this instance. He's lied. He's intentionally distorted his figures, even in the face of having accurate, well, semi-accurate measurements of the cliff, quoted cliff, a little mound of earth. But he's got a contradictory measurement that he's taken himself, he's got in person, and he's chosen to go with the one that better represents his model, that suits his needs. So he's a liar, and we've proven that beyond any doubt.
And to be honest, we're not even character assassinating Al K. We're agreeing with Al K because Al K is measuring it with a known height. Now, whether it's an accurate measurement, we're not even challenging it. He's concluded by his own admission that it's about 20 feet minimum, 20 something. We agree. We measured it at 21. Now, Miles has put 40 feet in. Well, we don't even need to show our own measurements because Al's already got it. We can cite Al against Miles and ask why did Miles not have the same value that Al did? And the answer, of course, is that he used the Ordnance Survey map, which put the line in just below the top point at 40 feet, 12 meters, 40 feet. Now, that bit was the reason why Miles claimed he wasn't being dishonest. But this was with the knowledge that Al is stood here with a stick at 16 feet, and he has to dismiss that. We know that the water comes up to around about this area at high tide. He was 5 centimeters off high tide, and he was literally, the water was very, very close to where this guy's feet was. He probably would have had wet feet. Maybe not. That's for Miles to prove. He didn't have the evidence to prove it, but nonetheless, Miles's own evidence can be challenged by Al K's because there's a discrepancy between the two. I don't even have to produce mine. Their own evidence can be used against them. Now, if I wanted to, I could show you us measuring the actual thing and doing the trig on it, and I could do it live. Do I need to do it? Well, no, because Al's already said it's 20 minimum, 20 something. We agree. So the question becomes, you've got a disparity between Ordnance Survey and Google Earth. Now, the argument is, when we're applying these observations, it's above water height. It's not above medium sea height, mean sea level. It's not above any other reference point. It's above the water. And we know that it was at high tide, bar 5 centimeters. So it's just a case of, well, where did the water come up to? But this guy's feet were probably wet. That is the simple fact of it. Unless Miles can prove otherwise, this guy's feet was probably wet. And Miles can't prove it. But we know that it was at high tide, bar 5 centimeters, and we know that it was the highest tide of the week.
Can I clarify what you mean there? If he was to be doing this measurement at high tide, his feet would be in water. That's what we are asserting based on the measurements and the tide values given at the time he went and took the observation. Based on the information he has given us.
And should I bring them up now? I can show them where that comes from.
Well, just before you do, because I just want to know something to clear it up. If, just for example, Miles and Al is right, what is the claim? And if you're right, what is the claim? So I think a lot of people are just confused. Well, what does this prove either way, right?
Well, in this instance, we have made no claim on this point of the land. Miles has made the claim, but Miles has made numerous other claims, and the problem with this is that it's got no effect on my observations whatsoever. All it's doing is clarifying whether or not Google Earth is relatively accurate or not. Now, the assertion from the ballers was that it was plus or minus 30 meters. So obviously they've applied 30 meters in their favor. They didn't consider that 30 meters can go the other way too.
To what we can see, it's now about, is Google accurate or not?
No.
Well,
what we're doing here is pulling apart an observation that a globehead has made that he asserts backs up the sphericity of the Earth. And we have pointed out that he has lied about his observation position in doing so, and how he has lied about his observation in doing so. Coincidentally, it's 200 yards down the beach from where Anthony took an observation, and Anthony's assertion is that the values in Google for those locations used to take observations of the Isle of Man are 34 and 52 feet based on the values given on Google Earth. Al K seems to be confirming that Google is not wildly inaccurate 200 yards away from where Anthony did take his observations, which is very useful if someone comes along hereafter and asserts that Google is wildly inaccurate and we should use Ordnance Survey maps because they are more accurate. Well, Al K seems to be disproving that as a valid assertion based on his 16-foot pole to measure what Google quotes at 29 feet.
Correct. So all we're doing is using Al K's observation to disprove the idea that the plus or minus 30 meters variation on the disclaimer of Google is applicable in this circumstance. It isn't. Al's proved it because he supports what we measured it at. I'm tempted to show the actual measurement of this point, Nath.
Is this a Google debate?
Why? We don't need to disprove his observation position in this regard when they've got their own measurements.
No, it verifies Al's position and disproves twice Miles's claim of 40 feet.
I don't think it's necessary.
It verifies
personally.
Al.
I just think you're leaving yourself open to have your evidence for their observation position picked apart, and it's not necessary. I mean, it's up to you if you want to, but I wouldn't.
And I see what you're saying. If I produce it, they'll just literally attack it from every angle that humanly possible, and it'll be to do with the measured angle, because the measured angle is the point that gives us the trig. But I'm quite confident that you could play around with the angle and still get it to within, like, plus or minus a couple of feet on 21 feet. That's it. I'm quite happy that it's going to be absolutely near 40
There's no need to
feet.
prove Google right when what we are trying to combat is their assertion that it's wildly inaccurate. And basically, we've had GeoStreamer.
I just want to know, if Miles and Al K are correct, what does it end? What does it finalize? What does it say Does it just prove that you were in the wrong place?
No, it proves that the plus or minus variation of 30 meters on Google Earth has got no evidence to support it in this location. In other words, when I've put myself at 35 feet, it's not wildly inaccurate. It's roughly right. That's what it proves.
Yes, but I'm asking, if Miles is correct, what does it mean? What are they trying to say? Look, we were correct, so it means this. What does it mean?
Well, what it means is he's doubled his elevation in terms of his observation position. So when he's asserting certain things based on his observation height, which he said is now an estimate and he has no proof to back it up, and has asserted that he needs to minus off certain amounts off it for various different reasons, when he's making his assertions, they're coming from a position of incredulity. He's dishonest about his height. Therefore, all of his observations and assertions regarding sphericity of Earth can be completely and utterly disregarded.
2 feet.
Do you know what I'm going to do, Nate? I respect your views and I respect your opinions, but I'm going to go against you on this one. I'm going to show the actual measured tape and the angle that we measured the trig at, because it's favourable. It supports Al, and it doesn't support what's his face, Miles. So I think that it's more important that we validate and verify Al's observational claim at 20 feet minimum.
The measurement is
because it supports
56.
My own observation. That gives verified information, and it also, as a double-edged sword, shows that Miles cannot use Ordnance Survey because it is 20 feet exaggerated for whatever reason. And I'm not trying to debunk it. I'm just saying that the actual measurement of the hill that they are stood on above water level cannot be 40 feet. Should I do it, Nathan? Unless you're strongly against it, I'm going to do it. I want to.
I don't think it's necessary, Anthony. If they've done the measurements.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it because they can attack the measurement of the angle. That's the only thing that they can attack. Here is our version of the actual measurement, not the computation of. This is the actual measurement of the hill in question. This is Ranty stood at the top. So basically, for those watching right now, Ranty is stood where Miles was. He stood at the top of this hill. And you can see there's Ranty, good-looking guy he is. There's the top of the hill where Miles was stood. This is the path, and you can see it now. So I'll turn the volume up a bit, and you can hear what's being said. You can see the actual measurement of the hypotenuse. Then you can see the angle, and we've measured the angle. It's about 20 degrees, and we'll do the trig live. So this is Ranty with the tape measure.
Anthony, the pole. What the pole? It needs to be the height of this. No, it doesn't.
Playback speed.
It just needs to.
So that's running a tape down to the point where it's basically at the floor.
That's it? Yeah. Right.
Oh, and just for the benefit of everybody watching, it's me that's wearing the red shoes, not Ranty.
Right, record it. Right, the measurement is.
Now the argument's going to be that you weren't low enough to the ground for the you didn't do it right to the floor, but it doesn't matter. We're a foot off the floor, but we can create a straight line between the hypotenuse and where Ranty is. Now at this point, I've not got my pole perfectly straight.
56 feet and 8 inches, and then keep it there, Ranty. That's the angle. So as long as that's on film right now, that's the angle.
Do you need your pole straight?
Is that not straight?
No, let me straighten it for you so I can see it.
So now we're making a correction to the verticalness of the pole so that we can get a better angle, a better measured angle.
Like that. Now that's straight, okay? So you just
make sure your pole's straight.
So now we're below the height of the concrete slab that's behind me that they were stood on. We're below it. The concrete slab would take it to about here because the concrete step's quite a big step. But basically we can use this angle here, but we can calculate it exactly from this angle. So if we calculate that angle, we measure that angle because we've got roughly vertical, that minus it off 90, that'll give us this angle, the internal angle, and then we can do the trig. So if you do the maths yourself, you can see that when you get to the point, this internal angle is about 20 degrees. And you can argue as much as you want. It doesn't make that much difference because the hypotenuse is not that big. So all we need is the hypotenuse value, and we need the internal angle, which is 20 there or thereabouts, give or take.
The length is 57 feet.
57 feet. So let's do the trig. So 57 feet. So triangle calculator. So let's go with the one that Nathan uses because I quite like that one. This one. So the hypotenuse was, what did I say? 57. Is that what I said? Anybody? Am I still here?
$57 feet.
So hypotenuse edge C was 57 feet. And we've calculated the angle. We've measured the angle based on the process of elimination to get the internal angle. So I'll just show you that so it's clear. We measured this angle and then calculated it to get this internal angle. And it's 20 degrees. So when I go back to this, angle A in this case is 20. And then what we're looking for is this value here, A. So edge A is the value that's in here is going to be around about 20 feet. We calculated it 21. 19.5. So from the point of where I am at the bottom of the hill, so let's just go back to it. At the point of me at the bottom of the hill, that angle, 20 degrees, and the length of the tape gives a hypotenuse of 57 feet, and Ranty is no higher than 19 feet, 19.5 feet. That is the trig. Now, okay, I'm not exactly at the bottom. You can add a foot onto there for there. You can add a foot, no problem. But there's the concrete slab that they're on, so we can take a little bit off. But it's as close as damn it, you know. And I did this. I only found this thing from Isle K a couple of days ago. I'd already done this at the time. Otherwise, I'd have just done it from here. But it doesn't change anything. The simple fact is the trigonometry stands. If you know two of the three values, because you've already got the third one, it's a 90 degree, then you can do the trig, and it gives us a value of that. And then we know that the water came up to around about here because it was high tide, bar 5 centimeters. So Miles's height above water was nowhere near 40 feet. It was 20, 21 maybe. Now, the problem with that is going back to the point that in, I mean, I'm not bothered about Miles's video, but the point that this gives here is 29 feet, 30 feet. That's to do with the mean sea level. Mean sea level is down here somewhere. So the height above water was only 19 or so. But the absolute maximum we can give him is 29, and that's the most that we can give him. But that is the actual facts. That's the evidence. We've measured it. Miles was not at 40 feet.
And with that, I'm going to say, first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully for sharing this show. If you've not done so already, be sure to like, comment, share and subscribe. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.